WrestleMania weekend provides so many different options, possibilities, great memories, even just going back 1 year ago to WrestleMania 40, and how can you not be romantic about professional wrestling? So this year, while we have a gigantic main event at the end, a lot to break down with this one, and so breaking it up into a couple of parts. We have, a little bit later on, we're going to have what I think they'll do, but right now, we're going to focus on what I would do. This is my fantasy booking. If all of a sudden Triple H called me up and was like, hey man, what are we doing? This is all what I would say with him. So a little bit of fantasy booking here. First of all, the Randy Orton aspect of it, I'm recording this before SmackDown, I would have him face Nick Aldis. I think that Aldis is someone whose resume deserves to have WrestleMania on it. I think that it is the closest to having a ready-made anything with it, and I think that it is a very, very exciting prospect here. Also, this is me overthinking things. I don't think it's nothing that NWA is putting out some stuff with Natty Neidhart and what she did at GCW last night. So I feel like there's a little, because that's where a lot of the, like you would have the tape library from TNA that you could use, but if we're nuzzled up there with the NWA, then all of a sudden we got a lot of Nick Aldis footage that we can use with him carrying around the 10 pounds of gold and all of that. So I would do that one. Now we're into the night one, official ones here. Gunther against Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. I have no problem with Jey winning, and I think he has been great. He's been really, really good. I don't think it would be the worst thing to have Gunther win and keep his reign going. I don't love that it would be back-to-back big losses for him at WrestleMania. That is a story that you could tell next year, but for a guy like Gunther, who's supposed to be this dominant guy, eventually the big win needs to happen on that big stage. So I would keep Gunther as the champion if it were me right now. And this is not, I know there's a lot of people who are anti-Jey Uso right now. That's not what this is. I just feel like this is still Gunther's time as the world champion. World Tag Team titles on the line. The War Raiders defending against the New Day. The New Day heel turn has lost some steam a little bit. I think a title win here would jumpstart it a little bit, so I would give this to them. Since this segment is a little bit more on the fantasy booking side, though, I do think having Big E come out with the War Raiders, even though it doesn't totally fit, I do think Big E can have the intensity to be with them a little bit. That would be awesome if he can, and that would probably change my pick a little bit. So I think that it would be a fantastic match. Either way, I am going New Day in this spot. Also, in my scenario of Jey losing, I do think that coming out of Mania, having babyface Usos against heel New Day and a different dynamic to that rivalry that defined the tag division for a really long time, I think that would be a lot of fun to kind of fantasy book that one out. So that's the way that I would go with that. Next, Rey Mysterio Jr. against El Grande Americano. I think Rey wins and unmasks El Grande, and hopefully this leads to this being a bit more serious. And I hope that we find out a little bit more behind this, and that Gable actually found a monster or something in Mexico. Because I thought the vignette that they did with him going out there, it was great until the jokey more money, more money, more money. And so I thought there was some legs to that. And again, it's me projecting a little bit because the comedy aspect of it, your mileage may vary on it. But I do think that I would prefer to have this have a little bit more heat to it than be a bit of a jokey one. And so I would hope that Rey winning does kind of spark something in it a little bit. Jade Cargill, just facing Naomi. I think Jade is an absolute superstar, and so I think you have to put her over here. Naomi has been doing some brilliant character work, but this is Jade's time right now. The U.S. Championship on the line, LA Knight against Jacob Fatu. I love both of these guys. I think that this is a very good setup for Fatu to go on a bit of a singles run, and LA Knight being ready to move up into the world title picture. So for me, it is Fatu getting it here in what probably amounts to a bit of a brawl. Tiffany Stratton against Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship. The build for this one has been ugly at times. I think you kill a lot of Tiffany's momentum if you have her lose to Charlotte here. I think this is a really important match for both of them. I think that if you can get the most out of these two in ring, the match will be incredible. And I think that will kind of help turn people back into the favor of both of these performers, quite frankly. So I do think that this would really, really help, having these two just have an amazing match and Tiffany ending up coming out on the other side of it. While we're doing the what I would do, looking at the what I would have done category of it, and this isn't hindsight, I was saying this, go back to the Elimination Chamber lead up. I think it was a mistake to have Trish just be a 1 month thing. I think if you want Tiffany Stratton to be in basically her first babyface run, why not have Trish stick around? Obviously, quite the babyface herself, and I think kind of is uniquely positioned to understand some of the challenges that Tiffany Stratton may be having in this, going from being the attractive person who it is very easy to not like to trying to be the attractive wrestler who is better at wrestling than everyone and be the one that gets all the admiration, everything like that. I think Trish is uniquely qualified to do that, and so I think that they probably should have kept her around as a bit of a manager, figuratively and literally, with Tiffany Stratton. So just, my 2 cents there. And then the main event, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. I've been going back and forth on this one for a bit. It feels too obvious to have Heyman turn on Punk, but it also feels weird to have him involved in this way and then for him to not do anything. And so for me, I do think that while a lot of people are kind of pointing this way, I think eventually Heyman turns on both Reigns and Punk and forms a faction with Seth Rollins. If we're doing the fantasy booking thing, apparently Jeff Cobb's available and could be making his way to WWE. So I do think, like I have been stating before, I'm not the biggest Seth Rollins guy when it comes to his promo ability and stuff like that. I think having a Paul Heyman would really take that character to the next level. You bring in a muscle like Jeff Cobb immediately to really put that throws him into the main event picture right away if he's going out there and just dusting off Punk and Reigns. And it gets a kind of a new Paul Heyman guy faction going into the new wrestling year. Let's go into night 2. Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. I can't be reasonable here. Io is one of my favorites right now. I have her winning this match. I haven't loved the build so far. I do believe that this match will be an absolute banger. I do think that one way you could go with this, if Io isn't going to win, is you have Asuka and Kairi Sane come back and cost Io the championship. So now you have an Io feud against Asuka and Kairi Sane that can take you to SummerSlam probably. And then you get the one-on-one championship feud with Rhea and Bianca in the first part of the new wrestling year. So you could get a couple of really good feuds out of it. But again, Io should forever and always have the championship belt. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez against Bayley and Lyra Valkyria for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. I do think Liv is above these titles, but I also think that it is weird that Lyra is trying to establish the IC title right now, and then you would give her another championship belt. Ultimately, the women's title picture doesn't include Liv, and so this is a good way for her to elevate these belts and really push her up, push them up a little bit, keep her in a semi-prominent position, but also just letting the title thing kind of work itself out. AJ Styles against Logan Paul. Logan Paul is never going to get a win in the what would I do portion of this, so AJ Styles wins in a, pardon the pun, phenomenal match. Braun Breaker against Penta, against Finn Balor, against Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. I go Penta here, and then make sure Braun isn't the one taking the pin. In the I'm booking this scenario, I would again, Gunther retains the title for me. Braun, I think, would be a really good babyface to move into that, and then but then it's maybe a little bit too early for Braun to be winning the title. Maybe he's ultimately the one to take it off of Gunther, and he gets a couple of feuds to build up to that. But either way, you can kind of build to that there. So Braun elevates up. Penta gets to have the Intercontinental title and continue his rise a little bit. And then Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor can go off and do their own thing. Sin City Street Fight with Damian Priest against Drew McIntyre. I like Priest a lot, but McIntyre is a world title caliber performer, and I just think he is on another level right now. I would go Drew in this spot and move him back towards a title picture. Again, if we're fantasy booking here, I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I do think that, like, part of the character for Drew McIntyre for a couple of years now has kind of him being a hypocrite. Like, everything he says is true, and you can see where he can believe it, but it is also very hypocritical. And so I think with him having a lot of trouble with factions, having his own faction would be kind of fun. And so I think the Gallus Boys, with Drew McIntyre as kind of their leader, I think adds an interesting wrinkle to what Drew McIntyre could be doing. And then in our main event, it is Cody Rhodes against John Cena for the WWE Undisputed Championship. So for this one, I do think the best thing is Cena winning the belt here. I think that Cody is getting very close to being overexposed as a babyface champion. And we're getting into LOL Cena territory here a little bit. And also, I feel like the Cena heel run needs a win here to start it off. Otherwise, it does kind of feel like it's maybe just a 1 month story. But since we're fantasy booking here, let's lay out what you could, in my mind, what you could do here with this whole thing. So, night one, at some point, you reveal that The Rock is there. He is in Las Vegas, and he is in John Cena's corner. I would say you could have him implement a no DQ thing, but I'm sure even without that being said, it's implied. And also then we're getting too much into last year territory with everything like that. But I still say you have the odds against Cody Rhodes. Night two, Cody comes out, has his entrance, and then like, hey, before we get going, you have someone in your corner, I have someone in mine. Glass breaks, out comes Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you do a bit of a thing. Cody gets the win. At some point, Rock and Austin have a bit of a stare down and an interaction. Then you have Cena and Rock go on a bit of a rampage for a little while, leading to a tag team match at SummerSlam with Cody and Austin against Rock and Cena. Rock Cena lose that match. Rock blames John Cena for it, turns on him, then we get the Cena good guy run that we were all kind of hoping for, culminating with Cena winning his 17th championship and retiring as champion. He vacates the title, going into the Royal Rumble, which now becomes for the vacant WWE Championship. The Rock uses his board powers, like I said that I kind of thought he might do this year, uses his board powers or whatever, gets him into the number 31 spot in the Royal Rumble and wins it. Some way, shape, or form, Cody becomes the number one contender, and then he faces The Rock at WrestleMania 42. So, there, we just booked out the whole year for you guys with the world title picture. So, that's the what I would do portion of the WWE's biggest show of the year, WrestleMania.